Good morning. It's really such a humbling and honoring moment for me to speak at this memorial service of Václav Havel. As I already heard from the speakers, for some of you, Havel might have been your friend, your mentor, or your teacher. For me, he's an icon who provided a narrative of struggle that affirmed my own political conviction and the price I paid for it. As a result of my repeated detention and the time I spent as a political prisoner, some of my compatriots like to call me the Aung San Suu Kyi of Ethiopia. Regardless of the immense admiration and respect I have for this great lady, I have never considered myself worthy of this comparison. I relate more easily to the greengrocer who emerged from Havel's imagination and ends up on the pages of his famous book, The Power of the Powerless. I was jailed for 21 months in 2005. After my party, the Coalition for Unity and Democracy, won a remarkable victory in general elections. Soon after, tens of thousands of people, including the leadership of the party, were imprisoned. Though going to prison, despite not committing a criminal offense, is the painful experience of every political prisoner, the pain didn't make us weaker. The elections had aroused a groundswell of optimism where little hope for change existed before. This hope and optimism gave us a clear meaning and purpose in our imprisonment. So we didn't simply languish in jail. However, my second imprisonment was entirely different from the first one. I was alone in every sense of the term. I had to bear the emotional pain of solitary confinement while the party I led was fragmenting. The attention and support of the international community to the cause of the Ethiopian democracy was diminishing over time. After 19 long, horrendous months of confinement, I was released in October 2010. Coincidentally, Aung San Suu Kyi and I were released just days apart from each other. However, unlike her, I found my party weakened when I went out. After all the pain inflicted on me and my dear ones, I had to ask myself if the struggle was worth it. Was it worth of the price? I couldn't help but ask these questions when I saw the state of Ethiopian opposition in the face of increased repression. But the truth illustrated by Václav Havel and The Power of the Powerless has always preserved my fervent dedication for the cause of free and dignified human life. It reminds me that even an individual's act of defiance has the value and significance of a full-fledged revolution by threatening the integrity of the entire system. To put this as Havel did, the greengrocer has not committed a simple individual offense, isolated in its own uniqueness, but something more serious. By breaking the rules of the game, he has disrupted the game as such. He has exposed it as a mere game. In this seminal work of his, Havel has set this clear gauge of political success in the place of the usual parameters. He just told us elegantly and logically that depriving a lie of its universality by stepping outside of it is tantamount to setting the truth in the highest place of order while the system appears intact. I can see that. So I can remain cheerful. I can remain cheerful and joyful while I feel the scars of those dark days of my life. I can see that the ideals of liberty and freedom will inevitably prevail in my country, even though I am agonizing over the continuous suffering of the Ethiopian political prisoners like journalist Iskandar Nagga. Even though the Ethiopian government is clamping down on all of its defying citizens harshly, without much criticism from the international community, even though those victims seem helpless and weak, I consider them victors, since they have disrupted the system by despising living in a lie. Yet, it's important to recognize one of Havel's noble truths. The powerfulness of the life of a dissident, or the lives of all who are engaged in the struggles for greater freedom, does not emanate from psychological features which are assumed to exhibit strength and might. We couldn't find that real power in our resolve to see the destruction of our abusers. In fact, we will become just one of them the moment we attempt to do that. And that kind of switch may not necessarily be something dramatic. It can even happen before we notice it. Even those of us who are victimized by dictatorial systems are co-creators of those systems in some sense. The supposed enemy is not just only out there. Unfortunately, it's within us too. So we should be vigilant and remind ourselves that the power of the powerless is directly correlated with features like friendship, compassion, forgiveness, and humility, which might seem meek and weak rather than vanity, hate, and anger. Had it not been for Václav Havel and others like him, I perhaps would not have the daring to speak to you as I am just now. Because this world seems dominated by realpolitik and Machiavellian design. And this impersonal, so-called objective power politics does not offer vindication of the suffering Havel encountered in his life, nor the suffering I have encountered in mine. Only the politics of the heart, which bases itself in capacities of love, friendship, solidarity, sympathy, and tolerance, are worthy of our hardship. This is what I learned from Václav Havel. Obviously, he will be missed by multitudes of his admirers like me. But I believe his soul would always smile down on the endeavors of all free men and women to constitute what he called the family of man. And I think what we all owe to him is just simple: to live in truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Birtukan. Birtukan told me that she discovered Power of the Powerless when she was in prison. It's when she first read it.